everyone, Hot Than Soup Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Bladee and Ecco2k project, Crest. This is a collaboration between two Swedish singers and songwriters who have built up quite a name for themselves on the internet as of late, not just as pivotal members of the Drain Gang music collective, but also as solo artists who have pioneered distinctly synthy, blissful, and sometimes androgynous strains of cloud rap and R&B. Now, it's no secret that this stuff hasn't always appealed to me. For example, Blade's Red Light is one of my most negative reviews ever I've done on this channel, but I do think his output has been getting more interesting over the years, and I really did enjoy Ecco2k's E project in 2019 too. So honestly, I had no reason not to go into this one with high hopes, even if that single back in January, Amygdala, didn't do too much for me, mostly because I found the indifferent singing aggressively slathered in auto-tune to be a difficult mix. Not to mention the production going in more of a dance pop direction, but building and building without too much of a release in sight by the end. It's no matter though, since this track didn't make the cut of this record anyway. By comparison, Crest actually brings a much lighter touch to the table sonically, and is better for it. I think the track list on this one also features some of the catchiest songs that Bladee and Ecco have ever put their names to as well. Also, I know there's a lot of discussion around the various genres and vibes that Bladee and Ecco's music inhabits, like, is it drained? Which is understandable considering how many stylistic borders they blur in the process of creating what they create, but that feels almost unnecessary on some of these tracks. Not to diminish what Crest is doing, but a song like White Meadow, for example, to me is just kind of like synth pop but with extra steps, which is fine. The song is good and the execution is distinct, but I don't know, there's no reason to over-explain it. The overall size of Crest is 9 tracks and 31 minutes, which is not surprising because at this point Bladee and Ecco aren't known for super long projects anyway, and there are a lot of sweet and otherworldly standouts to be had. Like the track White Meadow that I just mentioned, the regal and peppy synth leads as well as the driving beats make for a very soft backdrop on this one. Meanwhile, Bladee and Ecco's casual vocal leads layer on top of themselves in a way that creates almost a droney and ambient experience. There's something simultaneously catchy but also entrancing about it that keeps me coming back, and we have much the same itch getting scratched on subsequent tracks. The track Faust brings some sticky refrains as well. If only, if only, if only. Lots of sugary synth leads bouncing around the mix playfully, and the way the vocals play it so subtle and low-key on this one, it pulls me in, causes me to listen to it closer, and in kind of leaning into the track, I fall into a portal bringing me to whatever dimension Bladee and Ecco are making their music in. And in the lyrics, which I encourage you not to completely overlook, there are a lot of allusions to heaven, existentialism, mortality, oneness with humanity. And this is far from the only moment on the record with spiritual leanings. For example, the song Yeses, which in comparison with everything else on the LP is a little bit on the repetitive side, with of course all of the calls of yes, 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 yes. But I kind of already acknowledged one of this record's strengths is that it's so mesmerizing, and that's certainly the case for this track over here. I also like Ecco's somewhat mystical and witchy verse on the back end, which thematically, I guess, is a contrast from the Christian nods on the track. Then Desire is a Trap is another piece of synth pop philosophy, with a lot of infectious lead melodies and bubbly beats, effectively setting the stage for a lot of references again to existentialism and what seems like some fairy tale storytelling nods. This record also begins with a somewhat strong opener with The Flag Is Raised, which really spells out this LP's beautiful and hypnotic qualities right from the jump. Now, I also have to dive a little bit into the elephant in the room, or the track list as it were, and that is the song 5-Star Crest. Most of the songs on this LP run at about 2 to 3 minutes each, but this one is a big hefty 8+, and is also in tribute to late Drain Gang member Vatten Rum. Now, this track overall isn't a super cohesive 8 minutes. The segues from section to section of the piece, and this song does feel like a bunch of little tiny song ideas bunched together. They aren't super fluid. However, this track still does contain some of the prettiest and most captivating moments on the entire LP. With a pretty serene ambient intro, which eventually busts very aggressively into this chime-laced dance pop, which is then followed by these starry and intergalactic raps from Echo that are about dreaming and waking up. Then we also have Bladee hitting us with another passage with all of these meditations on existence and suffering and what he sees as the beauty of death, which of course is opened by these very somber, mournful piano chords that sound like they were lifted straight out of a church setting. There is a haunting ambient finish to the track as well. I will give the whole piece this, even if it's not the smoothest ride on the entire LP, it does effectively and thematically work in 5 separate parts, all of which are very distinct, easily recognizable. Really, my overall issue with Crest is that it does not end as strong as it starts, in my opinion. There's Chaos Follows, which I think is another moment that features a lot of building, a lot of tension increase, but without much of a release toward the end. I do appreciate this song overall does bring one of the darker and more tortured sounds and vibes on the entire LP. While it's all relative, this thing does still feel genuinely chaotic and even a little menacing, given everything else here. We also have Girls Just Want to Have Fun, which sadly is not a cover. It's also one of the older tracks on the LP as well. I think it's been floating around the internet for a few years. And while it does bring the dreamy vocals and propulsive beats and sweet synths that many of the other tracks here do, the production on this one is considerably more washed out than every other track here, and as a result, I don't think it hits quite as hard and feels just a tad bit out of place. However, I do think Heaven Sings works as a super serene, spotlit outro to tie the album's tranquil vibes and dreamlike imagery up, and there's certainly a vulnerability to the way Blade's boyish vocals very listlessly grip onto the melodies that he's trying to sing. You know what, I really messed with this record, and I guess I can't be entirely surprised as I have enjoyed Echo's work in the past, but Crest was still catchier and much more captivating than I anticipated it would be going into it. It really does hit with an otherworldly sound and a super low-key beauty that when I hear it, it just feels very specific to this project in the best possible way. I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Bladee Ecco2k, forever.